and welcome to this special segment, Hello 2022. The US inflation number is a red hot 6.8% for November, a 40-year high. Jerome Powell has already indicated that he would get into accelerated tapering. But stock markets are at the moment unruffled and are rallying actually. What should this mean for an India investor? How should we extrapolate the global backdrop for 2022? Joining me now are the head of markets and macros for JP Morgan, their brains trust. Sanjay Mukim, strategist, head of India equity research at JP Morgan India, and Sajid Chinoy, chief India economist at JP Morgan. Sajid, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, Sajid, first up to you, this inflation number not being taken as negative by the markets. Should we understand that the market thinks this is actually an indication of excellent growth? What's your growth estimate for the world economy as we step into 2022?
Thank you, Lata. I think a couple of reasons here. One is that this number was largely expected. This was not a surprise. People expected a sharp sequential print. But, you have to make a distinction in 2022 between good rate hikes and bad rate hikes. A good rate hike is one which is accompanied by strong growth. And our view around the world for 2022 is one where we expect very strong growth accompanied by higher inflation. And therefore, it's a very reflationary view.
Okay.
Where does the strong growth stem from? Very unlike the last financial crisis, we're coming out of this crisis, especially in the advanced economies, with private sector balance sheets looking very good. Households have got a lot of excess savings. In the US, it's $2.5 trillion. Firms are sitting on large cash levels, have made record profits, have deleveraged. And so the sense is the private sector will be activating these savings, and private demand will be very strong over the next 4 to 6 quarters as they run these savings down. Coupled with that is very supportive fiscal policy. Policymakers in advanced economies have learned the lesson from the last crisis, that they tightened too soon. So I think what we're bracing for is a year where growth is going to be significantly above trend. Our sense in 22 is going to be global economy growing at 4.5%. China sequentially has begun to re-accelerate. The US economy is growing at 7%. So really, as some of these supply bottlenecks fade, you're seeing the strength of the underlying fundamentals here. A quick point I'll make, Lata. The implication of this, however, is that slack in the global economy is going to close much faster. The reason we think the Fed's going to raise rates 3 times is the supply bottlenecks are well known. What's been a surprise has been how quickly labor market slack is closing in the US. So demand is very strong. We haven't seen a supply response from labor. Labor force participation remains stuck at the levels it was a year ago. So wages are going up. And this is a story central banks know and worry about. Okay. So expect to see strong growth, reflation, wage pressures going up, and at least in some central banks, a rate hike cycle commencing next year. Okay. But the markets anticipate this. And in the US, these are considered good rate hikes.
Yeah, good rate hikes. That's the point, which means good growth. Sanjay, to you on that note, if the global backdrop is as benign as the JP Morgan economists are making out to be, how will that influence your stock selection? Would it mean positive for global-facing sectors like metals or, other exporters?
Good morning. It's great to be on. Let me just add on to what Sajid has just highlighted. So look, we are looking for strong global growth, and our China economists are also positive about a potential stimulus in China and to see a recovery in that economy as well. This obviously then ties into an outlook as we have of rising oil prices, because we've argued that spare capacity is modest and you should see the demand recovery lift oil prices up further. And then you combine it with the fact that India is heading into 2022 with close to all-time high multiples, close to all-time high premiums to emerging markets, and relatively extended earnings expectations. So all of these put together, the strength in global growth, the recovery in China, and the outlook that oil prices might actually continue to trend up, doesn't necessarily make you terribly excited on Indian equities, especially on a relative to other peer countries.
Okay.
Yes, companies in India that are linked to that global demand, which will export, will probably benefit. However, these may not necessarily be the metals sort of names because they're already at very topish in terms of commodity prices.
Okay. Well, then maybe the Indian investor already smelt this growth and it's in the price. Take your point. But Sajid, now to the topic that you alluded to, I mean, we began by discussing inflation. Is that likely to be a problem in India? I mean, the Reserve Bank actually cut its Q4 forecast from 5.8 to 5.7, but most economists on the street are not as benign about India inflation. What are you preparing in terms of the India backdrop?
You know, I think we need to brace for 5 or 6 months of sticky inflation. Our own forecast is, I think when we get the number today, the November number, inflation would have gone back about 5%. Between December and April, we're looking at inflation close to 6%. So we need to be a little bit careful about near-term inflation pressures. I think what the RBI is banking on is, you know, part of this buoyant global story is that these supply chain bottlenecks finally unwind, and that's disinflationary. They're hoping on that. I think the couple of risks that we have to monitor is if you look at input prices within the PMI, for example, these are surging. And yet the strength of demand hasn't allowed firms to fully pass these on. So margins are coming under pressure. One risk to monitor is as India's economy continues recovering, will firms be more emboldened to pass this on? The second risk here is inflation expectations that we've seen in surveys now repeatedly. Households and businesses have increased. Their expectations have hardened meaningfully in the last year and a half. So now the RBI is in a slightly more delicate balancing act here because, you know, in the US, it's obvious what the policy implication is. Growth is surging and you have to normalize monetary policy. In India's case, the balancing act is inflation is much above target and has been for a long time. But the RBI believes, that there's a lot of slack in the economy and output gaps are negative. So how do you navigate that? My sense is we have to keep a close eye on inflation expectations. And I've been saying for a long time that, perhaps monetary policy needs to slowly start normalizing and fiscal policy has to do the heavy lifting because that can be focused to the parts of the economy that still need help.
Yes, sir. Inflation expectation survey by the RBI was not very heartwarming at all. But Sanjay, I want you to dovetail this to your stock selection. How much are firms able to pass, and will there be some companies you will avoid because they are not able to pass on price hikes? And separately, to continue with your previous question, I forgot to ask you. You said India is priced in. Do you all have an FY22 or 2022 end Nifty number? I mean, is it like 20,000, 18,000, 17,000?
Well, let me try to answer the easy question first, which is on the outlook on demand. And the nuance that we are trying to highlight is that there is a portion of Indian households which have done well during the pandemic, where savings have gone up, where incomes are been stable, and who have this pent-up demand, which if possibly a lot of it has already been released in the economy. But we've done a lot of work through the period of the pandemic to locate the bottom 80% of India. I don't know if you can call that a bottom, but really the mass market. And our feedback is that set of household has got concerns on income, has seen savings fall, and has very weak confidence. So like I said, we've done our own bunch of surveys, 4 or 5 of them during the pandemic, plus a lot of data points that you look at does point to the split outcomes in two sets of India. So to answer your question, Lata, businesses that address demand for the top 10 or 15% might still be able to pass on the inflationary pressures, might still be able to take price increases because demand in that pocket is strong. But if you take a broader set of consumer companies that sort of try and address the mass market categories, we are already seeing signs of them having to make trade-offs. Either you raise prices and lose volumes, or you keep prices flat and lose margins. There is no free lunch in that corner of Indian consumption. Okay. We don't have a published official forecast for 2022 Nifty yet, so I'll probably defer my answer on that.
All right, point taken. Okay, I think I have to ask you all the more important question of Fed tapering and what does that do to Indian markets, that all-important interpretation after the break.